Fight recap, Overeem versus Volkov.
Boom, stay tuned.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Bro Down Podcast. I'm Andy Smith.
I'm Tim Fulton.
This is Fight Recap, Volkov versus Overeem. Tim only looks as tall as me because we have the cameras adjusted. So let's get right into it.
Had to point that out, didn't you?
I did.
I am taller than you. Don't lie to the viewers.
Okay, buddy.
I'm all of 6'5".
Yes, you are. In here.
Christ, in 5'7".
All right, which one you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the main event first. We're going to be talking about Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. God damn it.
Yeah. So,
Can I give my honest opinion here?
go ahead.
So I know I'm saying this as a couch warrior. I know I'm sitting in a chair.
Lying about your height.
Lying about my height. I do not train for MMA, let alone UFC. So
Not alone at all. Just working out in general.
So I know I don't have whatchamacallit in the fight here. Like, if my opinion really doesn't matter, but Overeem his heart just does not seem in it anymore. And I know I'm saying that to someone who is a huge fan of Overeem.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's fair to say that you are a big fan of Overeem.
Yes.
So
Yes.
honestly, do you think his heart is still in the fight?
Yeah, I don't think it's I honestly don't think it's about that. I don't think that his heart's not in the fight. I don't think that he's undermotivated.
Yeah.
I think that it seems to me, sitting from the couch, that he is so good at what he does. And he had to adjust his fighting style over the years because I think that he knows that he doesn't have a granite chin.
Yeah.
So he adjusted his fighting style. Basically, he barely throws any combinations. Everything's one punch.
He's going for the one hit.
Yeah, and he's so good at striking that the first round is usually always a read, right? He just sits, waits back, throws feints, see how the guy's moving when he throws certain feints, and then the next round or late in the first round is when he'll start trying to actually throw strikes. But he's trying to read before he just goes out there. He wants to kind of know because he's so good and he has so much experience that all that stuff is getting downloaded to his hard drive.
Yeah.
So when he fakes and feints a left hook or feints an uppercut, those little movements that come out of the other guy, he's reading that. So when he actually goes to throw it, he's predicting where the guy's going to be.
I imagine like a little Jarvis in his head being like,
Yeah.
analyzing.
Yeah, basically when you're at that level.
Yeah.
And because I think he knows that his chin is not what it used to be, and he's never been really known for having a chin to begin with, all due respect. But the other thing that he also does is when he gets pressed against the cage or somebody starts teeing off on him, he really never fires back. He shells up so that he can see and kind of know the shots are coming and he doesn't get caught trying to counter. But he'll do that and basically make the other person nervous that a counter will be coming. And then as soon as they stop, he dips out. And a lot of times he'll actually turn his back.
Yeah,
he gets caught a lot doing that.
I noticed that a lot too. And it's funny because you have mentioned this in the past about Overeem with the slew of fights that we've seen him in. And I remember you saying these things, and I don't know if I've ever like truly grasped like how heavy he does this, but like the amount of times he shells up, so to speak, in this fight particularly it was I don't want to say it was ridiculous. I don't know how to phrase it because like I don't want to say like, oh, he's bad for doing this because obviously it's planned, it's like his thing.
Yeah, because what it is, he doesn't want to get caught flush.
Yeah,
right? He wants the shots. In my opinion, he's looking to take something off the shots.
Yeah,
right. So he's anticipating the shots. He knows they're coming, and he's blocking them partially, at least in the game plan. So he's not going to get caught trying to counter with his chin up in the air because he knows he can't really absorb that punishment anymore.
It's almost kind of playing against him though because he shells up like that and he doesn't have the counter, and I think everyone else is getting wise to that fact.
Yeah.
So
you bring up a great point that I was going to bring up. But go
yeah,
ahead.
so everyone's figuring out that that's kind of his game plan. So when he does shell up, yeah, he's protecting himself, but he's also leaving himself open to a certain extent. So now he's taking blows. Yeah, he's protecting himself from those blows, but he's taking more than he would have if he was a little bit more on the offensive.
Yes. So I think with you brought up an excellent point, which I was going to actually say was
Thank
kind
you.
of
I
a
am
story
excellent
for
all the
two of
time.
these. What?
I said thank you. I am excellent all the time.
That's true. With
buddy.
two of the fights that were on this card, I thought were really about what you said about people watching their previous footage.
Yeah.
And coming up with a game plan. Overeem is one of them.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I say that is because he's had so many fights and he has not adjusted his style very much since he's adopted this recent, I would say recent with probably the last 8 years. And the other thing that he also does too is when things aren't working or he goes for a takedown, if you always watch his takedowns, and he's a very good grappler, super strong.
Yeah.
But his takedowns are very it's so hesitant. But if he gets a hold of you, he can get you down. But his shots are always so telegraphed.
I was going to say they're slow.
Yeah.
They're slow.
And-
Which is a normal thing for bigger guys to begin with. But
but it's
at that level, you have to be careful.
Yeah, it's not the fact that he doesn't have the athleticism, though. There's hesitation. That's what it is. It's not like he's just not athletic enough to do the shot quicker. He's hesitant I think he's hesitant because he's worried about getting caught. Or he's worried about, maybe he's just trying to feint the takedown. But there is so much hesitation in him, I think, because of the knockouts and everything, which is very understandable.
Yeah.
But it hinders his vast ability so much that his chin is fucked up and he can't take punishment because the guy's been in a fucking lot of fights, man. Like between kickboxing and MMA, I think it's over 100.
That's ridiculous.
Almost 100. And
That's ridiculous.
He's gotten stopped a bunch.
Yeah.
Like a bunch bad. So I can understand him just wanting to take the least amount of damage and get the job done. But when you don't alter your game plan and you do the same things, like for most guys, if a guy shells up against the cage, you don't want to just drop your hands and start going at him, especially if you don't have him hurt, because you're almost like thinking it's a trap. But Overeem has done it so often, and the tendencies that he's been doing for the last couple of years haven't really changed from what I can see. And Volkov and his team, I'm sure, have watched tons and tons of footage on him. So the fact that those things haven't changed, he's such a high-profile fighter, I'm sure they've studied this, which is why Volkov did open up a bunch when he was against the cage.
Yeah, and he
when
did.
He was shelled up.
He did.
And he busted him open bad, dude. I mean, Overeem's got a lot of scar tissue, but this is also one of the only times that a guy that's 6'4" fights someone that's a lot taller than him.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to mention. Like, there was a huge height discrepancy here.
Yeah, and the commentators also alluded to the fact that Overeem's not a grappler but by choice. Like, he will and can if he has to, but this is one of the first fights that Volkov hasn't really had to worry about getting taken down, so he's able to open up more with the stand-up. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Overeem was talking about going on one last run for the title before he retired. I don't want to see him fight just to fight because I think he's got enough money. He's accomplished so much in the sport. I think that unless he plans on attempting to revamp a lot of the stuff that he does, and the thing is, when you're that much of a star, you're not getting easy fights. No. And you're also fighting in the heavyweight division. Every single person can knock you out. So, I mean, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I wouldn't be mad if he hung it up. I wouldn't be mad.
And that's a hard thing to say, especially as a fan. Like
yeah.
Again, we're armchair warriors or whatever
Yeah.
the fuck the saying is, but like, you don't want to see someone get hurt just for the sake of getting hurt. Like,
no, especially when he's been stopped as many times as he has. I mean, he's still lucid. He still talks normal, but
he still talks.
No, it's a real thing, man.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm laughing and I shouldn't be.
No, I get it. But sometimes you hear guys when they're still fighting, you start to hear like they can't string together sentences as fluidly. Maybe not a slur, but you can tell that there's some hesitation when they're speaking.
Something's not quite right.
Yeah, well, something's different.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
And I don't really see, I don't see Alistair doing a ton of interviews and stuff like that, but I don't see him really showing any effects. But again, he's only late 30s. So
I think he's 40.
Or it might be 40.
Yeah.
So good win for Volkov. It's always a good win to have a win over Alistair.
Yeah.
And here's the weird thing with Alistair. I think that if he continued to fight, I think he would stay in the top 5 until he decided to hang it up. Definitely the top 10. Because his chin has been, I want to keep saying this shit, but like, people have always been saying that his chin has been suspect for years, but he still pulls wins over top guys. So that's not really a part of the equation anymore.
It's not a fluke.
Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, it's he can still get the victories with that. It's not like he's relied on his chin to get him through fights. He hasn't. He made this game plan of his around the fact that he doesn't have an iron chin. So I don't know.
All right.
It's rough.
Well, moving on. Speaking of chins.
Yeah, Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. Holy shit.
Oh, dear
Holy
God.
shit. This is another one where I think that Frankie is such a high-profile guy. I mean, granted, Corey Sandhagen is a stud.
Clearly, he's showing himself to be above and beyond in this division.
Yes, but I think that there's so much footage, because Frankie is known for a guy that goes 5 rounds. He goes the distance. There's so many hours of footage on him. And especially if Sandhagen probably knew he would fight him at some point in time, they're studying his tendencies. They're studying what he does. And they're looking at what Sandhagen does good. And one of the things that Frankie does is he does tend to dip to the right side when he goes in. He used to do this thing where he would either throw a jab and pick the right leg, or he would throw a right straight and pick the left leg to kind of like throw you back. So he would throw a jab and almost push your shoulder and grab your left leg to take a single.
Yeah.
But it would look like he was throwing a strike. So he would get guys with it all the time. Guys got smart to it, but he does have a tendency to come in and lean down towards his right side when he strikes. And Sandhagen clearly had studied his footage.
Yeah.
And he knew what he was doing.
And he led him into the trap too. It wasn't just like, oh, he caught him on that spot. Like, he was leading him in to do this maneuver. This is the same thing that happened to Ben Askren versus
yeah, they were talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same exact scenario where it's he knew exactly what was going to happen, and he played it exactly the way it should be. And I would love to see this fight again. It's not going to happen.
No.
I would love to see this fight again with that knowledge in everyone's arsenal now, because MMA math, like, I just want to see what would have been.
Yeah.
But like you have to give it to Corey Sandhagen. Like, he played it perfectly.
It's a fluke, but it's not a fluke.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's a fluke, but it's not a fluke.
And the difference, and they were talking about this on the commentary team.
Yeah.
When they were talking about, Askren had the knockout and he had the knockout, because they're both flying knees. You don't see a whole lot of flying knee knockouts.
No.
But the one thing that they were saying, which I agree with, is that they were different in certain ways. Jorge Masvidal's knockout over Ben Askren, he knew that his tendency was going to be to shoot on the get-go if he charged him. So that was a pre-planned thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this wasn't pre-planned,
Yeah.
but the difference was that Sandhagen had to set this up.
Yes.
Sandhagen was basically, they kept saying he was drawing him in, which basically means he was doing things that were making Frankie come in a certain way and in a certain pattern. So when Frankie would come in with the jab and dip his head, he was pulling him further and further into doing that, and then he would wait until he saw the initiation of that combination coming, and then he threw the knee, knowing that that's where his head was going to be.
And this is where the intelligence of the sport comes in, because a lot of people, I mean, I'm probably talking to a bunch of people who love MMA, so like, I'm not speaking to anyone who, I'm not going to change anyone's minds here, but I'm going to fucking say it anyway, because it's my podcast, so go suck my dick.
Go for it.
This is where the intelligence of the game comes in. Everyone thinks it's a brutal sport. Everyone's just out there punching each other until someone gets knocked out, which is kind of sort of the case, but it's not. Yeah. It is a fucking chess match. It 100%, like, if Corey didn't realize that from the get-go, if he didn't play this exactly the way he wanted to play, if he didn't lead Frankie Edgar into the positions he wanted to play him into, he wouldn't have gotten that high knee strike, and then we would have had a completely different match. I would have liked to see that other match just because I'm a curious guy, but not to take it away from Corey. It was a perfectly played match, and that's kind of what makes this sport so beautiful, is because, like, you can look at people on paper all the goddamn time, but you don't know who's stepping into the ring. You don't know what game plan they have, and that changes everything. And it's what makes it so exciting.
That's the one thing about combat sports, particularly MMA, because of the small gloves and the higher knockout rates, is that you could have two guys that are like really, really good, and they basically have a flash knockout like this.
Yeah.
And they could fight 10 more times, and that can never happen.
Yeah.
We won't ever get to see it.
Exactly.
And that's a weird thing.
It's both good and bad.
Yeah, like other organized sports, like somebody could get a pick six or a touchdown on the kickoff or whatever, and then the rest of the game's got to get played.
Yeah.
And then you see them come back.
Or even like back in my heyday in wrestling, like, yeah, you might get someone who got a pin off of somebody because they were expecting a certain move and they knew how to counter it really well. But those same two guys, if they see each other in a team match, they're going to see each other in districts. They're going to see each other in a slew of other tournaments. And they're going to adjust their strategy. And they're going to see each other for years. So it's always going to be a different match. Yeah, that might happen again. We may, at some point in time, see a Frankie Edgar versus Corey Henke, thank you very much. But it might not be for years.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see it again. I think Frankie's in the twilight of his career.
If we do, it's going to be a fluke thing. It's not going to be anytime soon. But you're right.
Yeah, but I do think that this is one of those, the veterans have so much footage, and they're so good at what they do, and it's worked for them for so long, that it's hard to adapt, man. It's hard to adapt with sports, especially when, like, the young and up-and-coming guys, these are their heroes. They've been watching them since they were kids. Yeah. So they know things about these guys from watching their fights that they don't even know they know. Yeah. And they've, you know what I mean? It's just hard. It's just hard. The younger guys got the youth on their side. They got the hunger on their side, and it's a rough sport.
It's a rough sport. Speaking of rough sports, we're gonna move on to Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida.
Yes.
So real fast, I just want to talk about surviving a submission, because I feel like it's one of those things that goes underappreciated all the time.
Yes.
Clay Guida won this match. There's no doubt about it. I want to give all the props to him that I possibly can. But it's the end of the third round. I think there was actually 2.5 minutes left in the third round. Clay Guida got Michael Johnson's back, and he goes in for a submission. And he goes for the rear naked choke, and he gets it. I think he got it under the chin. He did get it under the chin. And Michael Johnson fought it off. Yeah. Fought it off. And you know what? He's not going to get a point for that. All he gets for that is fighting a guy off your back. You have one of the most dangerous men in the world literally strapped to your back, trying to choke you out, literally, and you fight him off for the sake of it. And he had to have known at this point he's going to lose. Yeah. And you don't get anything for that. So, like, in a weird way, you shouldn't get anything for that because Clay Guida got the submission. He should get the point for it. But at the same time, I just want to, like, give, like, my own little props to, like, people who fight that shit off. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's something to be said for fighting off this impossible position for the sake of it.
There's a lot of levels to what you're saying.
Ogres have layers.
Onions have layers. Parfaits have layers. You ever ask somebody you want some parfaits? Say, hell no, I don't want no goddamn parfait.
And now we're being sued by DreamWorks.
Yeah. So,
could you imagine?
Michael Johnson's down 2-1, 2 rounds to 1.
Yeah.
I think it was in the third round that the choke happened.
Yes, it was.
And he knows he's not going to win decision.
Yes.
There's not much time left in the round. And it's very easy. The easy route is to get, you get in the submission. Oh, well, I'm already losing the fight, so might as well just get out of here a little quicker. Yeah. But the fact that he didn't mentally break and he did everything he could to get out of submission, and he did. Yeah. Shows that he still wants to be in there even when it's not going his way. Yes. And that is it's very telling. And I think it's a super important mentality that you have to have at that level, because you know that you're down 3 rounds or 2 rounds to 1, going into 3 rounds to 1 at this time. He's down in that round as well.
Yeah.
So you know that you're not winning a decision, and you're on your back, and there's 30 seconds left. So you know you're trying to get up and knock him out. It's not going to happen.
It's 1,000 to 1 odds.
In 5 years it happens.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was doing it for the sake of being like, no, I came here to fight and win. So even if I'm not going to win, I'm going to lose as little as possible.
And he was tired. Like he was exhausted. You could tell right before the takedown that led up to that submission, he was exhausted. So he's not just doing this; he's doing this like with the last bit that he has.
Yeah. I think you're right. He deserves people that do and go through that with defending submissions. Mentally, the victory that you have mentally, and I'll say this: if there is some kind of moral victory. He's in his hotel room. And
I didn't get submitted.
It's just like, listen, Lucy didn't tap.
Yeah.
Lucy didn't tap.
Yeah.
He didn't quit.
Yeah.
Now, he don't have to say that to anybody else. He knows that he didn't quit.
And
he knows he didn't give up when he very well could have, and nobody would have blamed him for a choke that's under the chin on a guy that has a gas tank the size of whatever the fuck is really big. And
that's what she said.
And he doesn't tap, and he fights out of it. It's not like he got saved by the bell.
No. He fought out of it. He fought, and that's my thing. Like I don't want to take anything away from Clay because he won this fight. He won it fair and square, and he did an amazing goddamn job for a guy who wears a ponytail. But Michael Johnson, I'm just saying. But Michael Johnson deserves a little credit for that. I think we're in agreement. I think we're in agreement there.
The other thing that Clay does, and he's one of those rare guys that has an unbelievable ability to just go 100% the whole fight.
Yeah.
There's that old saying that goes something along the lines of somebody with really good cardio can beat somebody that's better than them skill-wise. Because all you have to do is make them tired. It's kind of like the old adage, like if you're fighting a black belt and you punch them in the face really hard, they now become a brown belt. You do it again, they're now a purple belt. So, but it's the same thing with cardio. I mean, you could have somebody that's a fantastic athlete, and they have unbelievable fast twitch muscle fiber, but once they get tired, none of that shit matters. It doesn't work anymore. And Clay has beaten, in my opinion, guys that are more skilled than him on paper and on resume because he's gotten them tired.
Yeah.
And Michael Johnson, known for having fast hands, known for being really powerful. I think that Clay got him really tired. But also, too, what surprised me was how good Clay's hands were.
Yeah.
They were really good in this fight. And I think part of that is because I don't think Michael Johnson wanted to get taken down. But at the same time, can't take anything away from Clay.
Yeah.
Still seeing him do the thing.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think we're 100% on the same page.
Yes, sir. We agree on everything.
Because we are always right.
Yeah, we are.
Any last thoughts before we sign off this bitch?
No, sir. Let's close it out. You want to talk us out?
I will.
Good.
Let us know what you think about these fights in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want any of our latest podcasts, don't forget to check us out on any and all social media. We have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. Both linked down below. We even have a Twitter that we never, ever, ever, ever use. We might, if you kind of like us. We probably won't notice. Don't forget to go. We don't know how to use Twitter. Don't forget to go to brodownpro.com. We have a whole bunch of cool shit over there. I'm taller than Andy Smith. We'll catch you guys next time.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking